We're there on the scene every time they roll a tire. We're there with them when, the house is burning. We're there with them when they're with the patient who possibly has contagious diseases. We're there with them at every step of the way. There's so many things that we come into contact with as far as hazards. Like I said, the contagious diseases, domestic violence. Personally, our agency, just this past week, we responded to a call for a gunshot wound victim. Our ambulance staged a safe distance with the Sheriff's Department to go in and secure the scene. The patient actually approached the ambulance before the Sheriff's Department ever found him, jumped into the back of the ambulance with the paramedic. Before the paramedic really understood what was going on, got in the back of the patient to assess the patient's wound, and at the moment of trying to assess the patient, he became combative, threatened our paramedic, and thankfully the gentleman left the ambulance of his own will. But there's so many cases you can read across where we're confronted with combative patients. People have been injured in the EMS field because we deal with these patients as well. We'd like to see these bills passed in an effort to retain very qualified people for this agency and this field of study, as we're a young field of study.
Thank you, Mr. Woods. We appreciate it. Listen, you won't find anybody in this committee that doesn't appreciate what you do. It's a question of whether we have the money to do it or not. So,
understandable.
We certainly appreciate you all being here. Thanks for your testimony. Mr. Scott Mills and Dina Castles, y'all can go. Thank you, fellas.
May I share something, Mr. Chairman? Or?
Yeah. Okay. I thought I'd give you the opportunity, please.
I'm sorry. I just want to reiterate the funding currently there for state supplemental pay. It was noted in a previous finance committee that there was a $2 million surplus in state supplemental pay already provided, which would leave the finance committee or the senators to only have to find $1.7 million. Currently, $129 million is allocated for state supplemental pay. It's going to have a decrease to $127 million, and that is a breakup between police, fire, constables, justice of the peace, and deputy sheriffs. The major impact is the deputy sheriffs. We allocate $53 million out of the state budget to them. The next one being the municipal police officers, which is $38 million, followed by fire department, which is $33 million. In that, there are several thousand practitioners that encompasses, roughly 8,900 sheriff's deputies, 6,000 police officers, 5,000 firefighters, and 856 constables and justice of the peace. When we ask the question of how we can fund it, for us, we're only 660 people, and we're only asking for $3.76 million. And it may sound conceited, but we are just a drop in the bucket. So I'd like to point that out. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for your testimony. Are you Ms. Dina Castles? And you Dina Castles? And
yes, I'm
Scott
Dina
Mills?
Castles.
Yes. All right. Ms. Castles, why don't you go ahead?
Again, my name is Dina Castles. I'm a paramedic with the East Baton Rouge EMS. I just want to touch on the hazardous part of our job and use myself as an example. Last Wednesday, I did not respond to what was issued out as a dangerous situation or a combative patient. I responded on a basic routine medical call, at which point when I arrived and got out and asked the individual 2 questions, I was attacked. I was punched in the mouth and caught off guard. I have 10 stitches across the inner top of my lip. I also have a sprained wrist. The supplemental pay is something that I think is important because when we are out on workers' comp or in this situation where I've been injured on the job, workers' comp is not paying me at this time. I'm having to use my own time and leave time to supplement my pay. And like the gentleman before me said, oftentimes we accompany police and fire and on all these calls. This particular call, police and fire were not there first. We were there first. And, it's just so much to consider, and I would hope that it is something that could be looked into financing and budgeting in to include us in that supplemental pay. One, a big deal is retainment of employees. I know personally my children are now afraid every time I get up and say I'm going to work in the morning, is mom coming back with a busted face again. So it's just something that I would hope would really be considered. Thank you.
We appreciate your testimony. Mr. Mills.
Scott Mills with the East Baton Rouge Parish EMS Paramedic Association. I think we've pretty much covered everything that, as far as the hazardous job we do, the education, the responses and all that. I just wanted to add to that, but it seems like we covered it. Besides, the turnover rate, retention efforts being limited as far as being a municipal or parish EMS, we don't have the luxury of offering what private services offer as far as sign-on bonuses and stuff of that nature. Mr. Frederick, I think, went over some numbers with y'all, and hope y'all would take into account what he had to offer and get with him on it and kind of go from there.
All right. Thank you for your testimony, sir. We appreciate it. Also here filled out white cards, Mr. Barry Ducey and Richard Frederick. You testifying with...
I have nothing further to add, but I'll sit here if you'd like.
You're kind of enjoying it, huh?
Hot seat.
Yeah. Okay, Barry. Mr. Ducey.
Barry Ducey with the State Budget Office. I think the conversation between Senator Morell and Senator Tarver addressed the issue I was going to bring up, in that the budget does not contemplate this at this point. And I want this committee to take this into account. But this is not the only supplemental pay bill out there. There are others on the House side that this committee will have to address. I do not know whether they're actually going to move on the House side or not. They have not to this point. But there are others that have to be taken into account beside this one. That's adding other groups and also increasing the amount of supplemental pay.
All right. Mr. Frederick, do you have anything you want to add to your remarks from before?
No, sir, thank you.
Thank you for being here. All right. There's some handouts that are being given to the members. Also here, filling out cards in support of, but not wishing to speak, Yvonne Smith, Richard Meisenheimer, Amy Mayu, George Stephenson, Lisa McDonald, Pat, I'm not sure, sorry, Lacey Spencer, Emily Robillard, Lucy Stephenson, Charles Broussard, Monica Verdun, Nikki Johnson. It looks, the last name, Brent, it's like Brent Crawford, Thomas Gilmer, Philip Myers, Keith Grigsby, Steve Neat, Nicole Yeager, Otha Henry, Joe McGee, King Coburn, Matt Powell, Bradley Harris, Shane Landry, Timothy Moyer, John Winstead, William Niemeyer, Chrissy Kosher, Thomasina Ryder, Rodney Kennedy, Jamie Hodges, last name Bradford, Ramon Cooper, Jeremy Wood, Curry Landry, James Lewis, Carl Meehan, and Lane Johnson, Steve, I can't see the letter, Confair perhaps. We thank all of you all for being here in support of this bill. Senator Morell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple quick points. The first is, as you can see from the implementation date, I appreciate the State Budgetary Office's comments, but this bill will not cost us anything this year. It actually won't be in the budget for next year. It would be in a budget after the new legislature comes in. Today, what we're voting on, ladies and gentlemen, is to establish allowing the people of the state of Louisiana to determine whether or not supplemental pay for EMS workers should be a priority. Though we have not had an additional group added to supplemental pay since 1971, we routinely add new groups to the existing groups. And by that I mean we've added, I want to say as recently as this current cycle, we added harbor police to police and supplemental, to the police sheriff section of supplemental pay. So we do it regularly. And when you look at the number of people in those groups, they eclipse the number of total EMS workers for parish and municipalities. I think when you consider, I think that we all know, as far as what we consider to be first responders was established by 9/11. That's basically where the people of the United States took note of, these are the people that are in harm's way. And no one has ever stated, in fact, it's a general assumption, that those emergency medical service providers are the people in harm's way. If we have established as a state, and we've allowed the people of the state to vote on several separate occasions to single out fire and police and every variation thereof, to simply allow in 2015 during a huge turnout election where people can establish for this legislature that the people of the state determine that creating supplemental pay for EMS workers is a priority, then that is something I think we should do. Additionally, I was talking to Senator Mills, there are a variety of different options, like some monies found in the UPL, where we could find monies to pay for this at that future date. So while we are dealing with some interesting budget problems that have happened as recently as over the weekend, a vote today on this measure does not make you put this in that consideration of those problems. This simply allows the people of the state to let us know if funding supplemental pay for emergency medical workers is a priority. If it is our responsibility as the legislature to come find the money to do so. But as previously stated, we're talking about $3.7 million right now, and the entire budget for supplemental pay is almost $150 million. So I know that you guys get really annoyed, and I appreciate we talk about drops in the bucket and comparative financing, but at the end of the day, this sends a message to EMS workers that we hold them as a priority, as high as those other members of law enforcement and fire protection. So I would ask for your favorable passage for the amended bill.
All right, thank you, Senator Morell. This is a great close, and I think the message needs to be. I personally have friends of mine who are EMS, and they do great work, because you know what the budget problems are with the state. What I would recommend that we do is hold the bill, and when we get the budget from the House, see if it can be put into the budget. Ms. Fredericks, I think, mentioned that there was some money someplace that I wasn't familiar with, and we could take a look at that. So that would be my recommendation. Is there objection on the committee to that? That's no objection. We're going to hold that bill, and we'll get till we get the budget.
Okay, with that, I can defer.
All you all do.
And with that, I would like to defer SB 440.
Representative Bagley. He also has House Bill 85.
On 84 and 85.
Just be sure that you introduce yourself when you.
Gotcha.
Okay, Representative Bagley. Would you like to begin with House Bill 84 or House Bill 85?
84 will be fine. 84 will be fine.
Members, we're still trying to have a meeting here. So you want to begin with the constitutional amendment first, not the...
Well, I tell you what, let's go with the other one, and you're right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That's okay. House Bill 85. Ms. Little, would you read the bill in?
Yes, sir. Members, House Bill 85 provides state supplemental pay to public emergency medical services practitioners.
Mr. Chairman, committee, appreciate the time this morning. It's been rather hectic and busy. As you can see behind me, I'd like to start off with permission from the chair to, he's busy. I'll say this, committee, I'd like for the members of the EMS and force that are here that protect us daily, if you'd stand and be recognized. Then, I brought this bill last year. I think it's important to recognize the people, men and women, that go in those homes. And when you're actually was saved myself, my own life was saved by EMT. In fact, the gentleman to my right it was a fire chief that saved my life, and his crew got out that morning, and I thought I was all right until I got in the ambulance and died. And they brought me back to life with the paddles and the whole thing. And it was because of them. And this law is that I'm trying to bring is for them. I think it's imperative that we recognize in whatever way we can the subject and the job that they do statewide. Now, there are some that are not. These gentlemen are paid differently than others. Some are members of ambulance services that cannot receive this money. These gentlemen are in, like the man to my right, Joe McGee, is in DeSoto Fire District, and they're paid for funded by the general population, as are in Jefferson Parish, and the same. So we don't have everybody in the state's not involved in this. It's only several picked, and they don't get any extra pay for this. And I certainly thought, I brought this last year. It was turned down. And I do understand money is a problem sometimes, but again, I don't think money should stand in the way with things that we need to do. These men and women deserve this. And again, I'm going to bring it, and I'm going to actually let them speak to you, because they'll do a much better job of what they do than I do. Joe.
I'm Joe McGee, and I'm the administrator for DeSoto Parish EMS. I come here today to just tell you some of the things that we go through. I don't think... Start off, it was like state had this, it was a hazard pay duty. That's how this supplemental thing, and I guess it competes with a supplemental, I'm not sure, but it started out, it was a hazard pay, and now, whatever it is, we need to be included into some kind of pay that we go through all the hazards. We get exposed to every kind of chemical, every kind of disease known to man. My whole crew, we have about 70 employees, and to the man or woman, every one of us have had either long or short COVID, where nobody's exempt. We've been exposed, we get exposed to meningitis, hepatitis, you name it, the common cold, the worst flu. Every year there's a different flu, and it's a hazardous job. And we represent about 200,000 emergency calls by the bunch that's here today. The people we represent. Think about 200,000 residents of this parish rode in our ambulance. If you figure 7 to 8%, or maybe repeat people that got more than one ride, but the rest of them, that's a lot of people. And here today, I probably missed some, but this represents the people from DeSoto Parish, Bossier Parish, Natchitoches Parish, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and East and West Carroll, and Allen Parish. I think I'm probably missing some more. But this is significant, a lot of people, and it's your mother or your father that needs a ride with, it's you, or it's your children. We do a lot of pediatric runs. So we're available, and we do the job, and we take care of people. We need to be brought on the level with fire and police. We're just as important to the public. I'm not saying we're above them, but we are as important. We should be on a level with them, I believe. I've been in this business for 35 years. I started off with the fire department, and I was on the public fire department. And then I went into private sector on the helicopter. And now I'm in the public ambulance service. So the residents of our parish don't even get a bill if they get a ride on the ambulance. Most of the same way statewide in this public ambulance business that we're in. So I think you need to please consider, And it's not going to affect me. This is just for the people that work on the ambulance. It doesn't include administrations, people, or secretaries, or not downgrading them or anything, but this is the people that are at risk and do the job day in and day out, that get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and go get somebody out of the ditch, or go get them out of the back room, or go into a house where there's a known case of TB in there and they've been in there for a long time, and we're subject to pick up those diseases. Those are long-term effects. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Bill now.
I'll just say, as we do that, they picked me up at 2:30 in the morning when I had chest pains, and fortunately I checked my blood pressure and it was through the roof, and then I called them and they came right on. They were there within, well, I live behind the EMS station, so that was probably safer for me. I will have our next guest.
Thank you. Bill Salmron, I'm Chief of New Orleans EMS. I want to thank Mr. Chairman and the committee for having the opportunity to speak with you in reference to these two bills. Also, especially want to thank Representative Bagley for his unwavering support, throughout the past few years of trying to get this up and running and get it pushed through. He's been a great resource and a great help in trying to move these first responder bills through the session as we tried to last year. This proposed legislation will pave the way for much-needed supplemental pay for 600-plus dedicated public servants in over a dozen municipal EMS agencies across the state. As Chief McGee said, collectively we respond to over 200,000 emergency calls for service each year, which averages out to a call about every 2.5 minutes. This pay includes full-time staff in third service EMS departments and fire and police departments that use sole role EMS practitioners not eligible for existing law enforcement or fire supplemental pay. So this does include other departments that just have emergency medical practitioners, municipal services. You see a lot of dedicated public servants seated behind me, and there's a lot of cards in the stack for support. Many of them will come up and talk about their story and then support, and so certainly we're here for them. They have chosen to carry out their calling to serve in municipal EMS, to make a difference and to save lives. And I say that they've chosen to serve because many of them have other options in the private sector to make more money, but choose to be a public servant. And we need help to keep these valuable public servants fairly compensated and support the hard job that they do every day for the people of Louisiana. As a leader in EMS, I can attest, as I'm sure my fellow chiefs here can as well, about our ongoing and persistent issues to recruit and retain employees. Since COVID, we have struggled to find qualified candidates due to multiple years of low output from EMS educational programs, and now compete with high compensation from other private healthcare and ambulance providers that normal civil service pay rules cannot support. We have done our best to raise pay as much as we can statutorily and financially allow. Additionally, municipal EMS agencies experience abysmal, and I say abysmal, fee reimbursements through payers like private insurance, Medicaid, Medicare, and serves high indigent populations that tend to rely heavily on and use EMS as a primary source of health care. Many times we are the only source of health care for many people in the state. It costs more to provide services now with inflation of everything we need to do business. We're just like a regular business, except we're a government agency. We got fuel, supplies, equipment. We've suffered inflation with everybody else. So as you can see, the struggle is real, and the emergency calls will keep coming in regardless of that struggle, and we still have to be out there. We realize and appreciate your role in this committee to ensure you that this will be a big return on investment. I humbly ask that you please support these bills and allow them to continue through the legislative process. This much-needed pay will help us better recruit and retain staff not only for today, but also ensure a sustainable future for municipal EMS across the state for years to come. Again, thank you for your support and consideration.
Thank you, Chief. I will say I hope the cities that these men represent don't have trouble today, because most of their guys are here. And you see exactly how important they are to us, and Of course, this is the second time I brought this bill. I don't think I can understate the importance, and I realize there are people that don't get supplemental pay today, and I don't want to rank anybody above or below. I do know that these men and women that serve us, and I say us because if you need their help and you call, they will be there. I got that personally. And again, the gentleman to my right, I taught him in school, so I've known him a long time. And they were right there in the middle of it and helped me out. And, I'm really appreciative of that. That's not the reason I brought the bill. I'm bringing the bill because I think they deserve it. So with that, I will answer any questions.
First is Vice Chairman Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to my friend Representative Bagley. Thank you for your heart. You have a heart of gold, and to our EMS workers, can't understate my gratitude and thanks to you all and the work that you do each and every day. Representative Bagley, let me just say I don't disagree with your bill. In fact, I support it 100%. I just wanted to ask. We've told teachers they need to be patient. They're getting a stipend, not a raise. We have REC, I'm sure that will be meeting in a couple weeks, and, maybe we'll have a better idea of our revenue picture. And, my hope is that, everybody that deserves a raise will be able to give them the raise. My question today is, would you be willing to maybe voluntarily defer in this bill in an effort to allow REC to meet and kind of get an understanding of our revenue picture so that we can make decisions in a holistic way instead of piecemealing our decisions? Would you be amenable to that?
Well, since I know what the answers are from that, certainly, Representative, if to be sure that we have a good mental picture of exactly how much money we've got. And I certainly don't want to downplay the need for this. The school teachers, I was one, and still to consider myself one. They have gotten pay raises. They don't get enough, but they have. These gentlemen have not gotten any kind of supplemental pay or pay raise. And again, I know the gentleman to my right, they have to fight trying to keep these guys employed because we're beside Texas. They can make a lot more money by going from my house about a half a mile and going to work over there for more money. So, and obviously any of you that are sitting here in front of me, if you're in trouble, you expect or hope you've got the best people that come in here to get you.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to have somebody come in and get me and say, what do we do next?
I can't understate being from the city of New Orleans. You know how important EMS and look.
Yes.
The work that they do, they are heroes, they are sheroes, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. But I give you my commitment. Should you decide to voluntarily defer this bill today, you will have my unwavering commitment to work with you on this issue.
Well, and I do appreciate that, Representative. You and I have become friends, very good friends in time. The only thing I hate is that these gentlemen and women that have come so far to do this are not going to have an answer. But I'm afraid that I'll know the answer if I say no and go ahead and go with it. So I will, Mr. Chairman, I will voluntarily defer this and the, 5084? Yes, sir. I will voluntarily defer both 84 and 85 with the hope that Representative Hughes, Vice Chairman Hughes can, and I know the gentlemen and women, ladies behind me and beside me do ask that you consider all this. And remember, when you vote, and we think about this again, their faces, because I hope they don't make another trip here like this, maybe a couple, but it is hard because they're taking time out of their job to come here and represent themselves and their families. And I certainly appreciate that. So with that, Chairman McFarland, I will voluntarily defer both 84 and 85.
Can we defer 85?
Okay.
Well, that's a constitution.
There's no further questions, so thank you. Oh. Okay. Representative Marcel.
Thank you. I don't have a question. I just want to thank y'all for continuing to pick me up every time I have a problem. So I do want to go on the record and say
It's not a heavy lift.
I appreciate EMS and firefighters and everybody that have to pick me up every time I get sick. Thank you.
What they'll do is they'll go ahead.
All right, there's no further questions. The bill has been voluntarily deferred by the author. The cards that we do have will be a part of the record. Thank you,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative
Thank you, committee.
She's kind of different. Say different. She's different.
Thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Look, we'll continue to do it until I'll wear them out or I'll run out of time. And y'all can pick me up for the last time.